It's time now to go beyond the headlines. And for the next 2 hours, go where every sports fan wants to go. Behind the scenes and into the practice facilities, locker rooms, coaches' offices, and press boxes to get the info before anyone else. This is the ESPN 1320 Insiders.
There's a lot going on a Tuesday. Goodness me. I had something I thought for sure we were going to open the show with, but then something else popped up that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
And now I've got people asking me questions in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320 that I would also like to address. We have so much to get into, and it's not even the stuff that we're actually going to get into.
I'm here for it.
Hi, everyone. If you're listening on 1320 AM on the radio, good morning. Hello. We appreciate you. Of course, everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. Hello. Good morning. While you're here, go ahead and hit the little thumbs up for us. We would appreciate that immensely. And subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell. That way, when we go live on YouTube and Twitch, you get notified. Or excuse me, when we go live on YouTube, you get notified. And you're able to tap in and watch us every single day, 10 a.m. to noon, right here on ESPN at 1320. Free Odyssey app, people. Hello, good morning. And podcast listeners, the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's this program, just has a different name for reasons that go well over our heads. I actually don't think it goes that far over our heads. The decision was made above our heads.
Well, yeah.
The reasoning makes sense. There's like copyrights and trademarks.
Of course.
That's easy enough to understand.
Yep.
So they called it the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show, which was not trademarked or copyrighted. Oddly enough, it's available wherever you get your podcast. We would appreciate it if everybody subscribed. Thank you so much. Okay. The NFL draft stuff, I see it. I want to save it. We'll have plenty of NFL draft content coming up for you because, of course, we have our show that we're doing at Cache Creek from 4 to 5 p.m. on the day of the NFL draft. We're going to be out at Cache Creek, out in the YOLO room, little ballroom, conference room, something between. Sounds like it's between a ballroom and a conference room size-wise.
Yeah.
But a pretty small setting. We're going to be in there. You're going to hang out. We're just going to do an hour. We're chit-chatting about the draft, and then we're going to go over to the Elevate Lounge inside Cache Creek, and we're going to drink drinks and eat food, and we're going to have a great time watching the draft with you. Just come hang out with us. That's the vibe. That's the whole goal. It's just be there hanging out, and we hope to see everybody there. And, of course, we'll be talking NFL draft on this program as well coming up because it sounds like we know who the 49ers are going to pick.
Oh.
I'll tell you who it is coming up at 11 o'clock. Also coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, we're giving away $500.
That's right.
I know you're thinking, wait, didn't you do that yesterday? Oh, no, we did, dear listener or viewer. We did do that, but we're doing it again.
We are.
And then we're going to do it again every day this week through Friday, and then Monday through Friday again next week.
We have a winner already, don't we?
We do have a winner. Where did my read go? There it is. We do have a winner for the Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway. This is Monday's winner. We have another keyword coming up that you can enter at ESPN1320.com to try and win today's $500, but that's coming up later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of the Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway, courtesy of Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy, Vince Bloom, is Matt C. in Roseville. Congratulations to Matt C. Oh, here we go. See, that's where I messed up. We'll get the applause back. We'll get another ding in there. Nice. Congratulations to Matt C., winner of $500. And we're going to weigh another $500 in the 11 o'clock hour today.
Amazing.
Well, we'll give you a keyword. Then D'Lo and KC will give you a keyword. You can enter one. You can enter both. I would recommend entering both.
Yeah. You might as well.
2 chances to win.
2 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. D'Lo and KC doing that. And again, that's courtesy of our friends, Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy, Vince Bloom.
We love Vince Bloom. All right. Where do you want to start? Do you want to do the anonymous player poll first?
We got so much stuff to talk about, Kyle.
So we're getting ready for the show. About, what do you say, about 9:45 typically is when we lock in what we're doing. Because we each have our things, and we come in here and we get in the rundown, and we're kind of like, okay, we'll do this and we'll do this. Where do you want to put that? And we move the things around the show, so we have a show laid out. Do we always follow it? No, but we have a show laid out on paper. Like literally, it's on a piece of paper. Well, we don't have them printed, but it's typically on a piece of paper.
Yep.
And about 9:45, we kind of lock it in, and we'll see if anything comes up. And then, sure enough, today, The Athletic publishes their anonymous player poll, which they do every year, and it's one of my favorite reads because they interview 158 players. So basically a third of the league.
Yeah.
And they ask them various questions, which is a fun way to do it because it's fully anonymous.
Yeah, I love it.
No players are named. We don't even know who they interviewed.
I've actually watched it happen.
Oh.
I've watched someone from The Athletic come in and say, "Hey, got a couple of questions for you. You mind answering for the player poll?" And I've seen it actually happen.
Oh.
So it's cool. It's
so exciting.
It's like Tim Bontemps straw poll.
Yes.
Which I take part in.
Yes.
I'm part of the straw poll.
Yeah, you don't just watch it happen, you make it happen.
I'm part of, yeah.
That's incredible.
It's Tim Bontemps and James Ham's straw poll. We're gonna run that by legal and see if we can, say that, but
no, I think we can. the Tim Bontemps straw poll featuring James Ham.
That's right.
So moving around the anonymous player poll here. We're talking about gambling and whether the league's gambling partnerships are good or bad for the league. Where in the world is the start of this? Oh, that's why. Okay, here we go. Now I've got it. I was on the wrong. They wrote a separate post just about the league's gambling partnerships.
Oh.
That's why I had this wrong. Okay, here we go. And this, folks, is why you don't try and prepare for a show on the fly. Okay, here we go. Anonymous player poll MVP. About a third of the league voted. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the big winner. 56.1% of the vote. 37.4% went to Nikola Jokic. Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, and LeBron James received 1.9% of the vote, respectively.
Oof, that's big.
Yeah, I think Shai is it doesn't surprise me that he's the player's vote.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, especially, the players probably are in the same boat that a lot of people are, where Jokic has won it 3 out of the last 4 years. And you're like, okay,
yeah,
we can give to somebody else this year, especially with a team that's just so far in the standings ahead of everyone.
Yeah, you're probably, because you can't vote for yourself. And there are certain questions where you can't vote for your team or your coach or whatever it is. But my guess is players voting in this have either individually gotten cooked by Shai, or they got their ass beat by Oklahoma City at some point this year, where Shai put up 30 and 10 against them. That's, I think, how this typically goes.
Well, that, and I think you've watched him mature in the league. And I think for a lot of people, that's what it's about. It's about seeing somebody take the necessary steps to be great. And, we're talking about a 26-year-old dude who just continuously gets better and better and better every step of the way. And, it's impressive to watch him, his meteoric rise, averaging over 30 a game 3 years in a row, being in the MVP conversation. This is now the third year. He came in second last year, but also he's in the Defensive Player of the Year category. He's in all of these other categories that, you look at him and you say, okay, I get it. If he wins MVP, I totally am on board.
Yeah.
I've always been a best player, best team guy.
Yeah.
But I also understand how great Jokic is and where he, even this season, sits in history.
Yep.
So it's just so rare to see a triple-double and a guy average almost 30 points and a triple-double.
On a team that won 50 games.
Yeah. It's wild.
Who's the league? I'm going to skip a couple. Who's the league's most overrated player? 90 votes cast for this.
Oh, so a couple of guys are like, I'm not doing that.
Most of the guys, 158 players were asked these questions, and only 90 voted for this. There were 2.2% of the vote went to no one who reached the NBA is overrated. And my guess is a lot of the non-responses were like, I'm not naming somebody in that.
Yeah.
Which I get. I totally get it. But 90 players voted. Of the 90 players who voted, number one, the NBA's most overrated player, according to the anonymous player poll in The Athletic, Tyrese Halliburton. 14.4%.
Oh, that's a lot.
It makes sense, though, because I think he took off and his rise last season was so meteoric early in the year. And it was because if you rewind, there were conversations. Is he the best point guard in the league? Is he going to be the face of the NBA? It was like, oh my God, this is turning into the Tyrese Halliburton show. He's hitting threes and he's distributing and he's averaging 11 assists a night. And oh my God, he's amazing. Then he got hurt. And then he struggled when he came back from injury. And then in the playoffs last year, you and I talked about it. There were points in the playoffs last year where the guy who was supposed to be next at point guard in the NBA is avoiding having the ball.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's insane. And then I think the reason that people are willing to be like Tyrese Halliburton is because he gives off the energy. And again, I don't play against the guy. I'm not in the NBA. I know, shocker to everybody, but I don't play against the guy. But when I watch him on TV, it feels like he doesn't start yapping until his team is up a bunch or until he's got 20 and he hits a big shot. And then he just starts talking. And I would imagine that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I could see that. I would rather play against somebody who talks the whole game.
Right.
And so then that way it's like back and forth.
Right.
Like, like I was always a trash talker. Like
Sure.
I like to talk trash the
Sure.
entire time. So for me, like if someone, as long as it doesn't go to the ridiculous, to me, look, Tyrese Halliburton is an excellent player. We have
Very
ties to him here
Of course.
in Sacramento. We always will. But he also, it's almost like he charmed his way into an all-NBA spot. Like he's just so charming.
Yeah.
And he's so well-spoken and so fun and so articulate and like everything. Like he just stands out as a guy that when his playing career is over, he's going right to the sideline, right to the booth.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question that, like him on JJ Redick's podcast all the time and
Sure.
everything else. So I get it because it's almost like, hey man, you have to put in your time. You have to put in your dues to get to where you are.
Yeah.
And you kind of skip some steps.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't vote for Tyrese Halliburton, to be clear. I don't think I'd vote for him for this, but it makes sense to me why I think some players in the league would do so.
Yeah.
Because they watched this guy just become the darling of the league overnight at the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what the hell? Like, what? Tyrese Halliburton really? So I get it. Rudy Gobert, number 2 at 10%. Makes sense. I think a lot of people just dislike Rudy Gobert. Trae Young, 8.9%.
okay.
I see it.
I see that as well.
Last one here that I'll name. Jimmy Butler, 5.5%.
Oof.
And I actually rock with this because I always say this, and this is not that he's on the Warriors. I watch him a lot. But even before this, I always left him out of the like superstar conversation. Because during the regular season, he'd be like, he'd be good. But then, come playoff time, hey, there's playoff Jimmy. And he's dragging a team to the finals when they have no business going.
Yeah.
Twice in a 3-year span. It's like, oh my God, this guy's ridiculous. But I do think on a game in, game out basis, that success in the postseason, it's almost like the opposite of the Domantas Sabonis conversation, where he's just so dominant, but people are like, got to see it in the playoffs. Doesn't matter until we see it in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler's like the opposite, where he's just kind of there in the regular season. He has some good games and stuff. He's a good player, but it's the playoffs. That's where his reputation's built.
Yeah. It's the same as like Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray's another great example.
Yeah. I mean, like there are guys that just show up in the playoffs,
example,
that are just really good and show up in the playoffs. And, to me, Jimmy Butler, I think a lot of people, the reason why he's probably on this list, a lot of people are just sick of it. They're sick of all of the trash stuff, the not playing games, the getting suspended, the team suspension, all of it. They're just done. And when Jimmy Butler leaves the franchise, he literally burns it down every time. So you're just waiting for that. And I could see people are like, hey man, he's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put him on that list because, sure, he's great. Sure, he's tough to play against. But in the regular season, you just can't rely on him.
Yeah.
And, like there are games you play against him that I'm sure he doesn't play that hard.
Yeah.
And then other times where he's in the playoffs and you're like, oh my gosh, look at how good he is.
Yeah.
I'm watching him with the Warriors right now. It's just like, holy.
Yeah. It's a totally different player.
Yeah.
Than the one you saw in Miami.
Yep.
Insane. Most underrated player, Cade Cunningham at 8.9%, followed by Derek White at 7.4%. Norman Powell, 4.4%.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yep. I think that's a really, really strong top 3. Cade Cunningham, I don't think is going to be underrated for much longer.
No.
He's been really good in this series against the Knicks. And we'll talk about the NBA playoffs, of course. Scott Perry officially hired as the Kings general manager. That's his title, right? GM?
GM.
So officially hired. We're going to build out a priority list. Like, okay, you're Scott Perry. You see what's in front of you. What's first? And we'll kind of do that as we go. But the Athletic dropped their anonymous player poll, so we're getting to that first. What is the league's best organization? Golden State number 1 at 21.9%. Oklahoma City number 2 at 17.5%. Fascinating. And then the Boston Celtics at 15.3. Nobody else is in double digits. Oklahoma City being on there, I would have, if you had said pick the 3 teams, it would have been Golden State, the Lakers, and Boston. Because I view this question as the teams everybody wants to go to.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of view that, but it's clearly not the way the 137 voters took the question.
Well, the players are looking at it like, what's the best organization? Which organization has run the best, right? And it's clear that Oklahoma City, to be honest with you, they're the best run organization right now in the NBA.
Maybe by a lot.
Yeah.
Boston's up there too, though.
They are, but
Boston's doing a nice job.
But Boston also, like, you are able to make like random trades to bring in all-star level players. You know, you drafted 2 all-stars for sure, but then, you know, going out and getting Porzingis and Drew Holiday and Derek White, and, you know, like, they've got a system that can withstand, you know, a lot, and they develop players well, but also they did get a couple of just haymaker, you know, put you over the top moves.
Yeah. Well, and Oklahoma City is battling against the small market thing. We talk about it here in Sacramento all the time. Oklahoma City is battling that exact same thing, and they've figured out a way to build a juggernaut out of it.
Well, that, and they built a juggernaut that's under the salary cap.
Yes.
Where Boston's like, okay, we're just going to pay. We don't care.
Yeah, which makes sense. If you're a title favorite, every team who's a title favorite should be doing that, if necessary.
Yeah, unless you're such a good organization that you don't have to.
Wild, dude. All right. League's worst organization. 113 votes cast. Number 1. That's the Charlotte Hornets. 38.1%. Number 1 with a bullet. Like,
that's
holy
a lot.
Smokes, man. 38.1% of the 113 votes.
Wow.
Oof. That's what, when Kenny asked the question, when, you know, people talk about tear it down with the Kings and restart, and he kept saying, like, do you want to be the Charlotte Hornets? I don't know that the Kings would ever be in that space, because Charlotte just, and maybe it's because I'm just detached from the East Coast, but I don't know what the Charlotte Hornets do. Like, there's nothing notable about them to me. And that could be, I understand that's partially a me problem, but I also understand that team is LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, who should not be in the NBA, and Brandon Miller, who didn't play most of this year.
Yeah, he missed a ton of time.
Just they don't, like, they're not particularly exciting. At least Portland, you watch them, you're like, man, they're trying hard. Good for Portland. The Jazz, I don't know what the Jazz are doing, but you at least see, like, okay, they're very clearly trying to tank. The Hornets, you're looking like, I don't know what they got going on, dude.
You're just not good. And I don't know when they are going to be good ever.
That's the problem, is there's no, like, the Wizards are next on this list at 20.4%, but at least with the Wizards, you go, okay, Jordan Poole took a little step forward this year. Alex Sarr played well down the stretch, certainly better down the stretch.
They cleared out a bunch of contracts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You see Bub Carrington's a player they're really excited about. He started to hit some shots down the stretch. You go, okay, you kind of see the fuzzy outline of what they might be trying to go for. I don't know what the Hornets are trying to go for. Oh, my goodness. And I do know what we're trying to go for. We're trying to go pay some bills. That's what happens when Joe is not here to remind us that we have to step aside. So we're going to do that, and we'll be back with more of this, more on the Sacramento Kings. We're going to build a priority list for new GM Scott Perry, and we're going to talk some NFL draft. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is the Insiders on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Center.
Listening to the
Clear?
Yeah.
Whoops.
I'm looking. I'm like, oh, there's no one in our ear saying 1 minute.
Yeah, I know. I've gotten just so used to that. Joe is on assignment today.
What's going on, everybody? The press conference is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Hmm.
All right. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Joe's already locked in at Cache Creek. Bro, LaMelo would be a phenomenal idea. A big LaMelo guy.
I'm not. I have a tough time.
He might just be a poo-poo head who will not ever be part of a winning culture, but from a skill set perspective, man.
Yeah. I'm concerned about everything else. Yeah. I mean, now look, he's got an incredible offensive game, but he doesn't play defense. I don't know. And
yeah, I gotta watch. Just trying to watch my mouth.
Geno Hills. Well, he averaged 25 a game last year.
25 and what?
7.4. But he shot 40% from the field and 33.9% from three. Like literally one of the most inefficient scorers.
I'd love to see you there if you can make it.
Yeah, who's going to make it out? Anyone going to make it out to Cache Creek to join us on Thursday night?
My folks are pulling up.
That's awesome.
Shout out to my parents.
I don't know if the wife's going to come out or not. She might.
My wife will be in Spain, so she will not be at Cache Creek.
That's funny.
Actually, she'll be at the airport on her way to Spain.
Got it. How long is she going to Spain for?
10 days.
Oh, that's nice. With some friends?
No, her folks. This was the weekend that worked for her parents to leave. And the NFL draft at Niners Wire is just like
yeah.
It's 3 days of. Here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Yeah, he's James. I'm Kyle. Got NBA playoffs tonight? Yeah, Grizzlies at Thunder. Hell yeah. Lock in. Grizzlies Thunder right here on ESPN 1320, beginning at 4 o'clock. That is immediately after D-Lo and KC, which is the show that follows ours. They'll take you from noon to 4, and then they'll take you right up to tip-off of Grizzlies at Thunder on ESPN 1320. I want to remind you, we will be giving you a keyword coming up in the second hour of this program that you can enter at ESPN 1320 for your chance to win $500. Our guy Matt C. in Roseville was yesterday's winner. You could potentially be today's winner if you enter the keyword that we will give you in the second hour at ESPN1320.com. The Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway is courtesy of Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy, Vince Bloom. You said something interesting to me right before we were coming back. We were talking about the draft.
Oh,
no! I was just never mind.
So
It was not interesting. It was not an interesting thing. I was just gonna whine about how much I write in the 3 days of the draft, but
Oh,
I'm not gonna do that. Nobody cares.
got it.
So
Well, we
oh, no.
have to finish up the league's worst organizations because we got
Yes,
through the
correct.
Hornets, we got through the Wizards. Number 3,
The New Orleans Pelicans.
oh, that makes sense.
It makes, dude. I heard, who was it talking about? It might have been Bill Simmons. I don't listen to the Bill Simmons podcast anymore, so it might have been Bill Simmons on the Zach Lowe show, maybe.
Okay.
Basically said, is it time to start considering whether New Orleans is a basketball town?
Oh yeah, they have a very, very difficult time. And look, the league has done everything to make that a basketball town. They've given not only one All-Star game,
yes,
in a torn up, trashed,
right.
Building,
mm-hmm.
Smoothie King Center,
yes,
but also a second one when the whole thing in Charlotte happened, where they took the All-Star game away, and they had to go somewhere else. Which is, so New Orleans got 2 full-fledged All-Star weekends,
mm-hmm.
in the span of 3 years.
I said on a different outlet when they got the number 1 pick in the Zion draft in 2019, I said if this doesn't work, it's probably curtains on the New Orleans Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, they've done everything they can, and it's just.
Yeah, it's just trying to get traction, and it plays in a little bit to.
I also really quick.
Yeah.
I need to say, we're also not there.
Yeah,
I don't from where I sit, it feels like basketball is not working there. Well, I could be very wrong.
It's not a priority at all. And
doesn't seem like it.
This is the exact same thing that I keep the argument that I make about baseball in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball in Las Vegas does not make any sense. The local base isn't big enough and wealthy enough to support it. Now, commercial, can you get all kinds of casino money flowing through there as far as billboards and corporate money and all that stuff? Sure. But nobody is flying into Las Vegas to go watch a 3-game set. You're going to have a very difficult time selling that place out ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe when the Yankees come through, maybe when the Red Sox come through, the Cubs. But outside of that, there are not going to be people there every single day, filling that building up. Although, look, it's not happening in Sacramento either.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a town that should be able to support that. But the problem is that, football, same with New Orleans, people fly in for the weekend, they party, they have a great time. They get there on Friday, they leave on Monday, they watch a football game, they have a great time. Mm-hmm. Same thing in Vegas. People fly in, they watch a Raiders game, they, they have a great. That's not going to be the case with baseball.
You don't think Royals fans are coming out for a midweek series?
No. But I also, I think the NBA will work in Las Vegas because the NBA has sat there and, cultivated a personality in Vegas.
No doubt.
Summer League every single year. So there are a lot of people who go there to, hang out. But also, again, it's not a 3-game set or a 4-game set. Mm-hmm. You can fly into town, catch a game, get out of town, and have a good time doing other things there.
It'll also, I don't want to turn this into this conversation, but while we're here, I think the NBA is also going to work in Vegas because it would very likely be an expansion team. That it's like the Las Vegas Golden Knights. They belong to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA team there would belong to Las Vegas. The Raiders are a weird thing because they have such a big fan base in LA.
Well, and they move all the time.
And they've moved this is their fourth time move. It's just they've been all over the place. And like you said, the NFL just is a monolith, is just too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
They could put a team in BFE and it would sell out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, and this is what Bryce Harper made this point when he talked about the A's moving. He was like, the A's shouldn't move there. The A's should be in Oakland. If you're going to move a team there, though, you have to wipe out all the A's stuff. You have to wipe out the colors. You have to make it a Las Vegas thing. You have to make it Vegas's own thing. And I thought that was a great point. If MLB were to drop an expansion franchise there, yeah, okay, maybe it works out. But I think the way this has all gone down, it's just I think a lot of people will have the ick. And anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Number four.
We got sidetracked.
Hornets, Wizards, Pelicans, and a number 4, ladies and gentlemen, your Sacramento Kings. 8.8%.
Oh.
The worst organization in the league of 113 votes. This is relevant.
Oh yeah.
And it's a small slice of the league. It's less than a third. There's roughly 450 players in the NBA. This is 113 votes. But I do think when we start talking about, and we're going to talk about this with Scott Perry and his priority list, you're not going to get the advantages that the Lakers have.
No.
Right? Like this is not new, right? Like I'm sure there's people screaming like, yeah, duh. But it's just, this is still where they're at. Even after making a playoff run and being in the play in a couple years, the Kings are still viewed as one of the 5 worst organizations in the league.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it could even get worse this summer because you just had De'Aaron Fox ask out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance that DeMar DeRozan does the same thing, although it'll be quietly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a very good chance that Domantas Sabonis starts to put pressure as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at a point where like this franchise has to figure out a way to flip the script and become something that they haven't been. And I don't know how that happens. Like again, we can go back to like the Scott Perry, the 3 months he was here before.
Mm-hmm.
And you can point to that and say, okay, there was some legitimacy to what he did in his 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was part of a group, but whether it's the draft picks or realistically the free agent signings, and a lot of people go, oh, those free agent signings, they didn't really mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
I beg to differ. Like George Hill didn't work out at all, right? The Kings signed George Hill to a 3-year, like $51 million deal. And then he got here and was like, I don't want to play here. I don't want to be here at all. He had a couple of deaths in the family in the first like 2 months of the season. And he just got more and more into like, I'm not even sure that I want to be an NBA player much more. And so it ended up being a bad signing. But when they did sign him, George Hill was coming off the best year of his career. He averaged 17 points a game. He was like a step below an all-star level player. He was extremely good. And when they landed him, it was like, oh my gosh, this is again, one of the best free agent signings the Kings have ever signed.
Yeah.
They got Vince Carter to walk in the door. They got Zebo to walk in the door. Of course, you gave them bloated contracts and they're aging stars and all that stuff. But the fact that you had a GM that could actually pick up the phone and talk Vince Carter into coming to Sacramento, or Zebo and coming to Sacramento, it's stunning. So like that's where I think you've got to be a little bit excited about the move that happened here. But I also like there is a stink on the Sacramento franchise because of situations like the Fox situation or the instability of coaching, or name that issue that they've had over the last 13 years, 12 years. And even before that, the relocation attempts and everything else. This isn't a hotbed for free agency.
I think there's always going to be a perception with small markets, right? Like there's always going to be a perception of Sacramento. Like I've seen it. Like I've heard it from people in real life. There's this perception of Sacramento that you're just never going to change anybody's mind. They have a view of it. This is what they think, and they're never going to visit, and they're never going to go there. And okay, fine. And you're never going to change those people's minds. But from an worst organization, let's run through this list, because I think there's a really easy way for the Kings to get off this list.
Yep.
The Hornets stink and have for a long time. The Wizards stink and have for an extended period now.
Yes.
The Pelicans have not done anything substantial in New Orleans outside of trading Anthony Davis, and it sounds like they're trying to trade Zion this offseason. The 2 biggest stars they've had. And now they've fired David Griffin. And they're probably going to fire Willie Green. The Kings have made the playoffs once in the last 19 years now. 18 years now.
Well,
19?
16.
Yeah.
It was 17 years, so 18, 19, 20 years.
They've made the playoffs once.
Yeah.
Then there's the Sixers, who have their own problems right now. They've not been able to get out of they've not been to the conference finals with Joel Embiid. You have the Dallas Mavericks, who I wouldn't blame anybody for voting them worst organization in the league right now.
Yep.
Because of the Nico Harris and Luka Doncic stuff. The Bulls have been a mess for a better part of the last 2 decades. The Knicks are owned by James Dolan. The Memphis Grizzlies fired their coach with 9 games to go. And by the way, remember when they were going to be a dynasty?
Oh, yeah.
Did you know the Ja Morant Grizzlies have won 1 playoff series?
That's wild.
Right?
Yeah, that's
the
crazy.
I think it's just because the Grizzlies have been loud. Like they're in the news all the time.
That you just think of them as something?
Yes.
Well,
I perceive that the Grizzlies are this like, hey man, if they're healthy, like, really? Are we sure?
Well, 2 years ago when the Kings made the playoffs, they were the 3rd seed. The Grizzlies were the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And this year, before they went in the tank in the last 2 weeks of the season, they have 9 games left. They fired Taylor Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, they were a 4 seed, 5 seed. Sure, they hadn't beat good teams, but they were still way up, and they fell.
Yeah.
Partially because of what happened. Because they fired their coach.
I don't know if it's my just internal bias, which it definitely could be. I'm just confirming priors here. But every time I see their coach on the sideline, he just looks like a deer in the headlights to me.
It might just be his look.
It might just be his vibe. He's the most Finnish looking guy of all time, by the way.
Yeah, he is very Finnish.
Extremely Finnish looking. But he just looks like, man, and it makes sense. He's been coaching for 3 weeks. and now he's got to go up against Oklahoma City. Like, good luck, guy. Like, enjoy that. But anyways, the Utah Jazz round out this list, and we know where the Utah Jazz are. Other teams receiving votes: the Detroit Pistons, been a mess for a long time. The LA Clippers have not ever been to a finals, and the Phoenix Suns, who are now currently a mess.
I'm surprised the Clippers are in there, because Ballmer just opened a new building, and they're known as
it says receiving votes 0.9%. So it's like a couple of guys. It might be disgruntled former Clippers.
Yeah, that's weird.
So I agree. You can kind of remove the Clippers from this, and the Pistons are at least heading the right direction. But if you start winning, dude, that's how you get off this list.
Mm-hmm.
If the Kings, after the 22-23 season, had made the playoffs, so last year, and then made the playoffs again this year, even if they were first round exits every year, they're not on this list. Or if they are, they're receiving votes because people just have that perception of them.
It's definitely a situation where when you can't find consistency and you can't build a consistent winner, that you're gonna people see the decline. They see the 48, 46, 40.
Yep,
they see that. I mean, it's a clear indication that you had something and it slipped that through your fingers.
Yeah, man. And I think what happens is players immediately just start going, okay, well, that's an organizational problem.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they know the ins and outs of the Kings' turmoil or instability or whatever, they're just looking and they go, they fired a coach, they traded De'Aaron Fox, they've made the playoffs once since 2006. Yeah. They just got to start winning. That's how you get off this list. Now, how do they start winning?
You just said once since 2006. That's so long ago.
It is such a long time.
Oh, wow.
Now, well. Hopefully they figured out with Scott Perry. How do they do that? We'll build a priority list for Scott Perry now that he's officially been hired. What's priority number 1 for the Kings? 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line. Would love to hear from you. What's got to be priority number 1 for Scott Perry? And I don't mean picking a direction. I don't mean these big picture things. What's the first move he's got to make? The biggest move he's got to make. Number 1 priority. I want to hear from you. 916-909-1320. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're going to pay some bills, and then we'll be back to talk more basketball. And we're going to get some NFL draft. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320 on Sacramento Sports Center. Clear.
Bronson. And hey, thanks for coming and saying hello the other day, Bronson.
Oh, salute.
If the Kings land a top 4 pick, what are the percentage chance you think that they opt for rebuild?
Good question. Let's hold on to that.
Yeah.
I've starred that. No, I agree, but what's the first roster move they need to make? Yeah, I know they got to work on the roster, but what is it specifically? Oh God, we got to get to the coin flip too. Damn.
Yeah. You got to get to the coin flip.
Hey,
I miss that.
Tough. I don't do that. Nah, I'm not doing that to my guy Steve. That's a good question. A lot of good answers in here.
Michigan, how would I guarantee that they win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes?
Are you ready to put your reputation on the Kings winning the Cooper Flag sweepstakes? Yes or no? We need to know right now.
No. There's a 0.8% chance of that happening.
In fact, let's get into that right now. Perfect.
See, I'm with you, Johnny G. I can't even guarantee that Michigan Wolverines will wake up tomorrow.
Can guarantee any of us will wake up tomorrow.
No. Russ Dog, absolutely not.
Yeah, for sure. David, we can fight if you want.
That's a good way to get punched in the face. The last team to move up from 13 was the Hornets in 1999 to number 4.
Joe, stay home tomorrow too, dog.
Yeah, Joe, come on. Hey, I think Kyle Guy just took a job with the with UNR as an assistant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He was at West Virginia, but they fired their coach and then kind of just pushed guys out the door. We have big A's news too.
Do we?
We do. What's that?
Okay.
This happened.
Here we go. Never mind. There's 30 seconds left in that spot. My bad. Here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
I got Kings news, A's news. There was a coin flip
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes.
The Kings won.
They did win the coin flip.
So they get to keep their pick.
No, they don't. At least
okay, then
not
why
today.
do I care? Okay, then stop. Okay. Then why do I give a rip about whether they won or lost this coin toss?
The best part about the coin flip, right, is that it was deciding who would be the 13th and the 14th pick between the Kings and the Atlanta Hawks. Here's the crazy thing.
A thriller.
The Hawks pick goes to the Spurs, and the Kings pick goes to the Hawks. That's so the coin flip, the Hawks lost it but won it at the same time because their own pick is not theirs. The Kings pick is theirs. So the Kings right now are the number 13th pick.
Okay, so the Kings and Hawks have their picks currently.
Yes, that's the way it works.
So the Hawks wanted to lose.
Yep.
Because that dropped them to 14 and put the Kings at 13.
Yep.
But once the trades are factored in, the Hawks now have the higher pick.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, but here's how it works. Like, the Kings haven't lost their pick yet. Pretty much they've lost their pick, but they have not lost it officially yet. So you don't lose your pick until after the NBA draft lottery. So if somehow the Sacramento Kings move up from 13 to number 1, 2, 3, or 4, they keep their pick, and Atlanta has to kick rocks.
Is their percentage better out of 13 than it would have been out of 14?
Yes, but only slightly. So they have a 0.8% chance of landing the number 1 overall pick, a 0.9% chance of landing number 2, a 1% chance of landing number 3, and a 1.1% chance of landing number 4. There's a 3.8% chance of the Kings moving into the top 4.
What would that percentage have been? I don't need to break the breakdown per pick. What were their chances of moving up from 14?
Oh, it's like right there. It's basically the same. So 1.9, 2.7, 3.4. So they went from a 3.4 to a 3.8% chance. So, but at the same time, at least you have you have a shot. So the Kings have a 92.9% chance of being the 13th pick, which means they lose their pick. They cannot be the 12th pick. They can't be the 10th pick. They can't be anything other than the 1, 2, 3, or 4, or the 13th or 14th. Right? They have a 3.3% chance of falling to number 14.
I'm on tankathon.com right now.
Yep.
I'm going to simulate a lottery. Let's see how it goes. No dice.
No,
stayed at 13.
We just should run an entire show.
Do this. Just
simulate the lottery. We'll just take turns.
All right.
I got the Nets number 1.
All right. I'm not even paying attention to who gets what here. I'm just trying to get the Kings into the top 4.
I got the Nets number 1 again. Boy.
Oh my god.
Well, I got
Philadelphia jumping up to 1 would be gross.
I got the Wizards number 1. I got Charlotte number 1. This is great radio. Oh, I've got the Raptors number 1.
I've done 15 clicks and nothing. Okay. Does just while we're on this, and then we'll get to the Scott Perry priority list stuff. Do you think their calculus for this offseason changes? Like, obviously, having a top 4 pick is better than not having a pick at all. But that kind of fundamentally changes the way you're going about your offseason then. Because if you don't have your first round pick, you're kind of just trying to maneuver with the pieces that you have on your roster. Who can you trade? What picks can you trade? Can you trade? Whereas if you have a top 4 pick, A, that now becomes a major trade asset.
Yes.
But B, now you're sitting there going, okay, maybe we're getting a star player we can build around. Like there's a real chance that one of the if whether you're picking, let's say 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, let's take Cooper Flagg off the table because that's obvious. But there's a real chance that, hey, you could get that. Remember we were talking franchise pillars the other day and how the Kings just don't really have one right now. That would be their opportunity to get that in a way they don't have it now.
I think the team's 2 biggest needs going into the offseason, very clear. you need a forward. And that can be either a small forward or a power forward. That's the beauty of having Keegan Murray on your roster.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He can play either position. I think a perfect world would get a stretch 4 and be able to move Keegan back to the 3. But if that doesn't happen and you're just looking at like another tall guy that is 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". So the number 2 prospect in the draft is Dylan Harper, who just happens to be a 6'6" point guard. So you need point guard, you need small forward, or you need power forward. You need a forward. So the number 2 pick out of Rutgers again. I mean, the number 3 pick is Ace Bailey, who's a 6'10" small forward.
Yeah.
So like if somehow you got up to the 2nd or 3rd pick, those are literally the 2 players that you would like die to have.
Right.
Like if you're the Kings to be able to go and draft one of those guys. And I think people go, well, should the Kings just reset and start over if that's the case? And it's like, no, like that's okay. Like you're going to play that guy, 18 to 20 minutes a night in his rookie season. And maybe towards the end of the season gets up to 24 to 28 minutes again, if he's earned his stripes and all that stuff. But you have a veteran team that can support one big time, young player. Sure. You hope that they develop quickly, but there's no guarantee. And these are both like freshmen. One of them is not even, his draft age is 18.9. That's Ace Bailey.
Jeez.
And Dylan Harper's draft age is 19.3.
Goodness me.
Cooper Flagg, you watch Cooper Flagg play? His draft age is 18.5. He's an 18-year-old. Dude can't walk into a bar and buy a drink, and he won't be able to until he's almost to a second NBA contract. But the Kings don't have those guys. The Kings don't have young players, and I think that might be one of the biggest question marks. Like,
do you know what I care about the Kings getting into the top 4 the most? Do you know what I care about the second most with this lottery?
Yeah.
Is the Jazz not getting the number 1 pick. I care about that so much. I do not want them to be rewarded for whatever the hell this season was.
I also, I don't want to see the 76ers rewarded either.
I agree. I'm right. I am right there with you. Don't bail them out. The other one, I think in the rankings of teams, I don't want to get the number 1 pick. Here we go. This is just off the cuff.
Okay.
Utah 1.
Yep.
San Antonio 2. I'm tired of San Antonio getting first overall picks.
Yes.
I don't need him to get another one. There's Wembanyama and Fox and Stephon Castle, and let that group be that group and let them figure it out. And then the Sixers are number 3.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Sixers. I also don't want to see talent wasted in Washington or Charlotte. I agree that those are the 2 worst franchises in the NBA, and I don't want to see the talent go there and just Cooper Flagg is too good to get wasted there. That's where, like, if Philadelphia won, you'd be like, well, at least he's going to have a chance to be good.
Sure. Like
to play for a good team, you would hope. I kind of feel like I want the Brooklyn Nets and Jordy Fernandez to get that first pick.
It's funny you say that because I just hit another simulated lottery and Brooklyn jumped up to 5 spots to number 1.
They seem to be the team that always lands number 1 in my when I'm sitting here.
I would also be cool with Portland getting him.
Okay.
I like what Portland's doing right now.
Yeah.
And I think that he would be a really nice piece for whatever they're doing. But anyways, would much prefer the Kings get the number 1 pick.
Of course. Of course.
That's the number 1 thing. A's news, real quick.
Yes.
And I see on the line on the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. We'll get your thoughts on what Scott Perry's number 1 priority has to be now that he's taken over as the Kings GM. His press conference is tomorrow. But if you're calling in, we don't have our call screener today. Joe is on assignment. So it might just ring for a while. Just hang in there. Bear with us. And we'll get to you as soon as we can. I promise. 916-909-1320 is the Elk Grove Kia talk line. What was our A's news?
The A's have reportedly, and it looks like it might be for tomorrow's game, not today's game, but they're promoting their top prospect, Nick Kurtz. Kurtz is a bona fide power hitter, and we're talking about a 22-year-old who was drafted 9 months ago and has ripped the cover off the ball at both AAA and AA. This year at AAA, he's got 7 home runs and 24 RBI and less than 100 at-bats.
In 20 games.
20 games.
During his minor league career, His last season, he in Stockton and Midland, single A Stockton and double A Midland, he he hit 368 with a 520 on base percentage and a 763 slugging percentage. Just insane numbers. And then this year in triple A, batting 321 with a 385 on base. And you mentioned the 7 homers, 7 doubles, 10 walks to 26 strikeouts. Yeah, man, he's major league ready.
He's a monstrous human being too. People are going to look at him and think he's Matt Olson. I mean, he's
a legit 6'5".
Yeah, he's 6'5". He plays first base. It creates a really, really awkward situation for the A's because Tyler Soderstrom is just ripping the cover off the ball. He leads in Major League Baseball with 9 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Brent Rooker, who plays left field.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Andujar, who plays left field. So the thought right now is that Rooker and Soderstrom are both going to find time in left field.
Mm-hmm.
Soderstrom will find time at first base as well. So they're going to have like a rotation here and then throw in the DH position as well. I
imagine Kurt's DH is a lot to start.
Yeah, probably. And I think that if they have Mike Gallego might be working with Soderstrom right now to see if there's any way they can get him to play for a third base. So there's been talk of that a possibility of him moving to third base, but the fact that they didn't do it in spring training is a bigger problem.
I can't. That would be a massive risk.
Yeah.
Unless you're just punting this season and you're going, hey, we're going to give him some innings and see if it works out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I would rather have 3 big time bats in the lineup than what they're getting from third base.
You say that until he starts kicking ground balls and throwing the ball over the infield, and now they're losing because their third baseman made 2 errors. And
no, that's true. I
think you can figure it out with the DH, first base, and left field.
Left field, yeah.
Soderstrom catches too.
No, that's true.
So you got options.
I don't think you're going to want to move him behind the plate again, though.
Probably not.
The way he's hitting.
Probably not. So that's what's happening in A's land. Nick Kurtz. Excited to see him. To see him
me too.
Play in the majors because we've been hearing nothing but good things since he hit single A to start last season. All right. Scott Perry's to-do list. We're gonna build it for him.
Okay.
We're not even that way. It's like, bro, step in, we got you. The insiders got you, the chatty house has got you, listeners have got you. What does he have to do first? The number one thing Scott Perry has to do. We'll get to that next on the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. This is ESPN 1320. It's Sacramento Sports Leader. And clear.
Yo. What's going on, everybody? I saw a report that NBC Sports Bay Area has been working with their broadcast team to make sure that they're pausing between Nick and Kurtz. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting thing to see how the A's figure this one out. But man, this dude is absolutely legit and gives them just another huge pop in the lineup. If I'm the A's right now, I'm working with both Geloff and with Soderstrom. Somebody's got to play third. Urshela just isn't it. And neither is who's the other dude that they had last year that's not very good either. How do we feel about the draft on Thursday? Fruity UNC. I don't know. I'm super intrigued. Like, I think the 49ers are in a good spot. I think that there will be players that fall to them because that's the way the draft always works. And then it's going to be like, hey, when you're on the clock, like who wants to offer something? I don't see them moving out of the first round, but I see them moving down if they can and really being able to load up on picks. Wow. Let's put it out there. Somebody's going to Miguel, just make sure you have a ride home. Or just get a room. There you go. It's a drive. Man, I don't know where Sanders is going. Mark, unless you got like 4 other trades, like I'm not trading Sabonis for a top 10 pick. I mean, it would have to be like the most no-brainer trade of all time. Or it would have to be like something super dramatic. Like, let's say, for instance, like the San Antonio Spurs end up with like the 3rd best pick, the number 3 pick. Would I consider like Castle and like salary cap filler and the number 3 pick and start over? But that's not what the Kings are going to consider.
The Spurs would also not do that.
No.
Some interesting draft questions in here. Get to those. There's so many things starred. All right.
Yeah, the Kings were 1 loss away from
Here
actually
we go.
being.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the ESPN 1320 Insiders. Get ready for the most up-to-date sports news and talk with the ESPN 1320 Insiders.
Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D'Lo and KC. Those guys will take you up to 4 o'clock. And then Grizzlies at Thunder. Game 2 of that series will be broadcast live right here on ESPN 1320. Shout out to Matt C. in Roseville. He was yesterday's winner of our $500 that we're giving away each day this week and each day next week, Monday through Friday. We're going to give you a code word. D'Lo and KC will also give you a code word. You enter both of those code words at ESPN1320.com. You give yourself 2 chances to win $500, courtesy of our friends, Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy, Vince Blue. Hell yeah. We'll have that keyword for you coming up this segment.
Okay.
In this segment, we're giving you that keyword. We haven't given it to you. And we're going to make it obvious. It's not going to be a secret thing. We're going to make it a whole thing. Like, you'll know when the keyword is being given out. We're not just going to be like, oh, keyword. Like, we want you to enter. We're going to make it very clear for you. Where were we at? Scott Perry, his priority list. I see some NFL draft questions in the chatty house, youtube.com/ESPN1320. We will get to that. But I want to get to the Scott Perry thing first. And 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. I got somebody on hold right now that we'll get to. But what's your number 1 priority? And like I said, not big picture, not pick a direction. Like, we know that. What's just like the personnel thing that has to be the first move for Scott Perry?
They have to figure out who the head coach is. And if Doug Christie's that guy, then sign him now and let him build his staff. If he's not that guy, then let's open up the thing, quickly.
Yep.
Because I think there are a lot of coaches that are available right now that should be intriguing. Mm-hmm. And so if Doug's the guy, give him the job and start building now. If he's not, then you got to make the decision quickly and do what you think is best. But I think without a head coach in place, then this thing gets a little dicey.
Yeah, I think I have a hard time pushing back on that because you can't sit down and assess the roster until you know who the head coach is going to be and what you should be. Here we go. There should be some kind of marriage between coach and GM and roster and basketball philosophy and play style and all that jazz. So you can't even start making decisions on the roster until you know who the coach is going to be. Mm-hmm. So I don't disagree there. I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit with that.
Okay.
And to me, you got the number 1 thing you have to do is, what is DeMar DeRozan doing?
Okay.
What are you doing with DeMar DeRozan? Because if he's going to be in Sacramento, I think that alters a little bit the way that you're building this team.
Oh, completely.
At least for me.
Yeah.
I think if we saw what he is such a singular force offensively, that having him in your building means that you're probably crafting a team a little bit differently than you would if he's not in your building. And so that has to be the first thing you're figuring out is DeMar DeRozan going to be here next season or is he not?
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm starting the conversations, DeMar DeRozan isn't part of the team next year. And that's, again, it's not a slight on DeMar. It's just that he's the 35-year-old guy that doesn't fit with your 30-year-old shooting guard.
Yeah.
And so one of them has to go, and it's easier to move a $25 million contract than it is a $43 or $46 million contract. And so that's where I would start. And yeah, so as far as transactions, it's like, hey, let's sit down, let's assess, like, what are our priorities? Like, how do we acquire players that we need? And like, what's the first player that we look at in order to make that move?
Yeah.
And he's probably like really, really high on the list.
Yeah. He has to be, like I said, to me, that has to be number one. Because so much of everything else you're going to do is going to revolve around that. And if DeMar's like, nope, I'm going to be here, I want to be here, and there's no market for him, there would be a market for him if they wanted to trade him. But if he's just going to be on your roster, all right, figure out the rest of this then, because it can't look how it did last year. Very clearly.
Yeah. Well, that, and I also think that there's something you have to, when you're dealing with a player like this, you have to quickly make up your mind of what kind of direction you want to go with that player. So is the move to break DeMar DeRozan's contract up into 2 or 3 players? Or is the move to take DeMar DeRozan's contract, add it to another player, and go try to get a bigger player? So you kind of have to choose a pathway. And again, I look at him as much as anything else. I'm just going to be honest with you. I look at DeMar DeRozan's contract the same exact way that I looked at Kevin Huerter, and the same way I looked at Harrison Barnes. He's a $25 million contract with a $10 million buyout for the final year. You could be acquiring $50 million for the player, but you're really realistically acquiring $35 million with a player. And so I think that there's a way in which, like, you can go get the player that you need. But again, I need to know what the direction is, because is DeMar DeRozan and a first round pick enough to get you Cam Johnson?
Sure.
Or are you going to go more like, hey, we would move him to the Lakers in order to get like Rui Hachimura and like Gabe Benson? Sure. I don't even know what the contracts are, but like, I'm just throwing out like
right
ideas.
Right.
Like, do you break him into 2, or are you adding something to him to go get something bigger? You don't have a lot to add. So that's one of the problems, unless we start cracking into the Jonas Valanciunas $10, $11 million contract, the Malik Monk $18, $19 million contract,
which all should be on the table, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know that people have their favorites, and you're not going to trade everybody and blow the entire team up, but everything has to very much be on the table.
Yeah, but I also like, look, if you're going to go in a new direction with your general manager, if Scott Perry wants to blow up like 80% of the roster and build around 2 or 3 guys, I think that might be the first step. Like, who is your core? You know, like the press conference tomorrow, like that should be one of the biggest questions, is like, who do you consider the core, and how do you keep that core together? And how do you build around that core?
Yeah.
And so if the first thing, you know, he starts naming everybody on the roster as his core, you know, that's Monty McNair's team, Wes Wilcox's team. That's not your team.
Yeah.
So how do you want to put a stamp on this, and how do you want to change it around and make things, you know, like have a positive spin and get ready to compete for the playoffs next season?
Do you know what Scott Perry probably thinks his first priority is? Getting Zach LaVine the hell out of Sacramento. Here's Scott Perry talking about Zach LaVine on, I don't have the podcast name in front of me. Whoops. That's fine. We'll tell you what podcast it was. Here's what he said.
No question that Zach LaVine could score the basketball. He has proven that his 9 years in the NBA. I know this is his 10th season. He's shot the ball well. He's a career 38% three-point shooter, explosive athlete. He has proven that he can score the basketball. Next thing that I look at is, does he impact winning? Zach LaVine has been to one playoff series in 9 years. So he's played a total of 4 basketball games, 4 playoff basketball games. So now I say to myself, I'm looking at paying 40 this year, 43, 46, and 49 million in subsequent years for a guy who, to this point, has not impacted winning to the level that his money says he should impact. So there's not a real match there, in my opinion. Now, as I look at the teams, and you bring up a good point, Mo, when you start talking about him as a third option, which I think is the best fit.
Oof.
Yeah.
So you got to find 2 players better than Zach LaVine.
Well, I think they have one player that's better than Zach LaVine in just overall in Domantas Sabonis, but scoring options, that's tough.
He's also been to one playoff series.
Yeah. And he didn't go to any before?
That is, I'm sorry, real quick. That is Hoop Genius.
Okay.
That was Scott Perry's appearance on the Hoop Genius podcast. It's back in 2023.
Okay.
November 2023. He wasn't still with the Knicks when he was out here saying all that stuff about Zach LaVine.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that's the modern, the way that, you go on podcasts, you talk about stuff, and then things can change very quickly.
I'm so fascinated to know how he's going to navigate that.
Well, here's the other thing.
In the interest of accuracy, Domantas Sabonis has been to 4 playoff series, once with OKC in his first year, once with Indiana in his second year, and once with Indiana in his third year.
Okay. And then Sacramento.
And then the one with Sacramento.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know how you walk back some of those statements if you're Scott Perry, because to be honest, you're just...
Is he wrong?
You're just speaking facts.
That's it. That's the thing, is he didn't say, man, I don't think Zach LaVine is a good culture guy, where he could go, yeah, you know what? I've gotten around Zach LaVine. I've talked to some other guys. You know what? I take that back. Like, what he said is probably just kind of right.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we said when they made the trade. But just to rewind, like, if you knew that this was probably the outcome of your season, is that you're going to move away from De'Aaron Fox, you're going to move away from Monty and Wes, why would you allow them to make the trade for a guy that he clearly isn't on board with? Like, again, it's just going to keep flaring up.
My guess is, because he's going to get asked about this at his presser.
Yep.
My guess is he's going to say something to the effect of, Zach LaVine's a really good player. We're going to make sure we get the right pieces around him to maximize his talents, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's on me to go get the pieces that make him fit in what they're doing.
And what that means is getting a number 1 and number 2 option to go along with him.
Yeah.
All right.
It's tough, though. Like, you just don't have a lot of pieces. I will say, like, the one blessing in disguise, we talked about the lottery pick, right? The coin flip, whatever, that doesn't matter. The one good thing is that once that pick is gone, and let's say the Kings don't move up into the top 4, there's only like a 3.8% chance of them moving up into the top 4. If they don't, that just means that on July 1st, Scott Perry has everything moving forward. He has 9 first-round picks. One of those is a pick swap in 2031, but they have an unprotected Spurs pick in 27, unprotected Timberwolves pick in 31. They get They get 2 second-round picks back to 2026 and 2027 second-round picks. So on July 1st, he will be able to go out and wheel and deal with a full cupboard.
Yeah, right.
And that's something that Monty McNair has not been able to deal with for like 4 years because of 3 years because of the Kevin Huerter trade.
Right.
I mean, that the good thing about
subsequent other deals that botched their second-round picks.
Well, of course. And then again, like, trading your first-round pick to get rid of Rashawn Holmes' contract, was that a great move? Probably not. Going out and missing on a couple of first-round picks, that wasn't a good idea either. But as far as just like, what does your cupboard look like? Like the Kings have all kinds of ammunition here.
Yep.
And we in Sacramento have already seen what Scott Perry would do with a first round. Like we saw him attack the 2017 NBA draft. And I think it's interesting when you look at, De'Aaron Fox was the 5th overall pick. Number 15 overall was Justin Jackson. Number 20 was Harry Giles, and then Frank Mason in the early second round. Of those players, 2 were young 19-year-old kids in Fox and Giles, and 2 were veterans in Justin Jackson and Frank Mason.
Sure.
So as opposed to the Monty McNair era where he took one player under the age of like 21 the entire time he was here.
That's crazy.
And that's Jemias Ramsey.
That's so crazy.
5 years, he never drafted anyone young at all. That's a problem.
That's insane.
So, like, again, we just saw Scott Perry in the one draft he was here, drafted 2 young players. Now, he had 4 picks in the first 34 picks or whatever, 33 picks. But still, that shows you that he's willing to take the gamble on the young player, but again, I would caution the Kings were in a totally different position than they are today.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to build something quickly, trying to revitalize something. And so it'll get interesting. Does he value his picks? Does he not value his picks? Does he go out and he trade 3 first-round picks? That's always a possibility. Like if they want to get in on some big player, it'll be interesting to see how they handle this.
Yep. TC, I see you on the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320. We will get to you when we come back. I also think we have a really good idea of who the 49ers are going to draft on Thursday. And I'll give you those names next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube is omnipresent because they sponsor this program. We're the Insiders, and we're on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Clear. Nope.
Leezy, if Monty got Stephon Castle in the trade, do you think he would still have a job? I got to be honest, it's a good question. And I also there's this really weird thing that happened during the trade, as everything's, and I at one point had been told, hey, there is a way for the Kings to get Castle. And then that didn't happen. I do think that would have made a huge amount of difference. There was a moment where it was like, hey, they can get Castle in the deal. And then I think that's when it started to go sideways and include other teams. But I don't know.
Am I the only one that's not traveling internationally right now? Goodness me. I just had 4 different people come up on Instagram. I got 2 people in Japan and 1 in Italy.
What?
That's 3 people.
I want to be in Italy.
People. I would love to be in Italy right now.
I like Italy.
My brother lives in Italy, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What part?
Somewhere in the Northeast.
Okay.
I forget. Yeah, Joe Brazil. On his way right now. Hey, that would be such a baller move, Joe, if instead of what you texted me as the reason that you're out, if you were actually just on a flight to Italy. Wait, what? Tough. That's France.
Oui, oui. It's a good question, Jim. We need to talk football, but I think it's all of the above.
Oh, hey, we're back.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
All right. Your code word for the Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway, which is courtesy of Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy, Vince Bloom. This is your chance to win $500. It's your chance to win on this show. We're giving you a keyword. D'Lo and KC will also be giving you a keyword at some point during their program. They're noon to 4. They'll give you a keyword. That'll be another chance to enter at ESPN1320.com. $500.
Okay.
Today's code word is buzzer. Buzzer. I've got sound effects for this one.
Like buzzer beater.
Yeah, like buzzer.
Okay.
Buzzer. 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 Enter that code word at ESPN1320.com. You will be entered to win $500. That is the Jump Shot Jackpot giveaway, courtesy of Folsom Lake Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the big guy, Vince Bloom.
There it is.
Buzzer at ESPN1320.com. You'll find the contest page. It's right there.
I'm so excited we're giving away $500 each day.
Yeah. Monday
That's
through Friday
amazing.
this week, Monday through Friday next week.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm super excited, especially, just like it's a good time to give away money.
Hell yeah.
Christmas time is a good time, but also right now is a good time to give away money.
But also the middle of April, also a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, get locked in before the summer.
Yeah.
No doubt. Let's get out to the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320. Let's hit TC. What's up, TC?
Hey, Hammer Kyle, what's up, man?
Vibing, bro.
What's going on?
Oh, man, just vibing. So, real quick before we go, Kings, Niners, man, trade Purdy, man, either to the Saints or whatever, or you could.
All right. We'll do that again tomorrow.
Oh.
They're not going to trade Brock Purdy. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? So Mac Jones can be the quarterback? That's what we're fired up for? We're fired up for the Mac Jones era in San Francisco? We're ready to trade Brock Purdy? Bro, you can be out.
TC.
Yeah, no, good dude. The Chatty House says it all the time. Fade TC. I know why. Look, bro. No, we talk. Hey, bro. Look, we talk about this all the time. How we try our best. We're gonna run down the hypothetical roads and we'll do all that. But I've seen this from the Larry Krugers and the Grant Cohns and the 49ers podcasters. Like, oh, trade Brock. Like, brother, they're not going to trade Brock Purdy.
No, did you see today? He showed up at camp, at a voluntary camp. He showed up.
Phase one of the offseason program. He's there.
And they said that things are moving the right way with his contract extension.
They're not, like, you can want them to do that all you want. You can hate him. You can be like, they're never going to win a Super Bowl with him. And you might be right. I'm not even saying you're wrong. They're not going to do it. They're not going to call the Saints, and they're not going to go, hey, how about Brock Purdy for the number 9? And then the Saints aren't going to go, yeah, we'll take them with our contract situation. Their cap situation is hell, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just going to pay another quarterback when Derek Carr is already making $1 bajillion.
Yep.
So yeah, hey, we'll just pay another quarterback. That's fine. Like, it's not a thing that's going to happen. Because and if you want that and you'd rather have the Mac Jones era, no.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that's going to happen. And I certainly don't want the Mac Jones era over the Brock Purdy era, or whatever the Brock Purdy era wants to be.
I don't ever want to see a Mac Jones
I'm out
era.
on Mac Jones.
No.
I'm out on him as a player.
No, there's probably 8 quarterbacks in this draft that have better futures than Mac Jones right now. Like, the fact that he's your backup, that's fine. But come on now.
Yeah. I don't. I love you, TC, but we're not doing the trade Brock Purdy thing. If it happens, I'll eat a big plate of crow. But, man, I would be stunned, floored. I would drag the 49ers for a week if they did that.
The best part is, how long did TC wait on the line?
You know what? Hey, that's true. TC, call back, but leave the Brock Purdy stuff out of it. I'll get right to him.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I think the Niners are going to draft 3 guys. I was talking about Barrows yesterday on Candlestick Chronicles, the podcast I host with Chris Biederman.
Yep.
Of the Sacramento Bee. And I was talking about Barrows. And he said that we're starting to kind of get more and more info on who the 49ers might be taking. And Matt Barrows kind of confirmed what the breadcrumbs are out there.
Okay.
Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, really productive last year, but questionable production in the 2 years prior to that. He was at Texas A&M for 2 years, went to Ole Miss, like 35 pressures, I think, and these 6 sacks last season. That's according to Pro Football Focus. Really good athlete. Like, just could be a 3-down player on day one. It was a much better run defender this year too. So I see the vision there. And again, all of these guys are players that you've probably read mock drafts and you're like, what? They're going in the 20s. From what I understand and talking to people who know more about the draft than I do, once you get past like 6 in this draft, the players between like 7 and 50 are all kind of in the same mix. There's tiers within that for sure. But the 49ers taking one of these guys at 11 is not as outrageous as it sounds, because they may not be able to trade. Adam Schefter wrote about this yesterday. The trade back market is not going to be robust. There's a ton of teams looking to trade back and not that many teams looking to move up. So the Niners can cross their fingers and hope Ashton Genty falls to 11 and a team wants to trade up. They can hope that Shedeur Sanders falls to 11 and some team gets crazy and wants to trade up ahead of the Cowboys because they think they're going to take Shedeur instead. Maybe. Like, weird things happen. McMillan, the receiver from Arizona, whose first name I'm not going to pronounce correctly, so I'm not going to pronounce it at all. He might fall to 11, and some team wants to jump up in front of the Cowboys because they maybe.
Okay.
But Walter Nolan's the one name. The other name is Michael Williams, defensive end out of Georgia.
Okay.
Still got to figure it out as a pass rusher, but just checks all the boxes physically. A good run defender. Might be able to be a 3-down player relatively quickly in his career. I don't see it. I got the ick from watching him, but apparently the 49ers like him. And then who was the third name here on my list? Oh, Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas.
Yeah.
That's the other name that just, you start seeing him randomly in mock drafts from people who talk to people, and you start talking to some folks around the team. You're like, I think depending on how the board shakes out, I think that's the other name, where he started left tackle for 3 years at Texas. Where, hey, real quick, hang on, Jesse, did TC call back? You thumbs downed him? I can't put you. Oh, okay, it's fine. Shoot me a text. I saw TC called back, and apparently he didn't want to get back on here.
Oh,
is he just out on our show now? That'd be fine. That'd be fair. I was a jerk. So if maybe Kelvin Banks is a player. He played offensive tackle at Texas for 3 years. He's a starter at left tackle. Really, really productive player. There's some questions about his size and whether he can hold up as a left tackle. So Dane Brugler from The Athletic has him as a guard. Maybe he plays guard and then kicks out to left tackle in the long term. If they're taking an offensive lineman in round 1, it has to be somebody who upgrades their line this year and eventually replaces Trent Williams. That's the only way you can justify taking an offensive lineman in the first round.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think it's one of those 3 guys.
The one issue I have with the defensive linemen, like, I don't think the Niners are in a spot like Walter Nolan. He plays multiple positions right on the line, and he's not a master of any of them. Like, he's fine against the run. He can get to the quarterback a little bit. He doesn't seem like he's a road grader. Like, he doesn't seem like he's an edge rusher.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not that.
And I don't think the Niners are in a position where they can, if you've got like four defensive linemen set up, and then you bring in a guy who has versatility to play all 4 spots, that's fine as like your 5th, or even if you've got most of your spots filled. I just don't like having in that situation a plug and play, like he can move around type guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like get me a 320-pound defensive tackle that can stop the run. Get me maybe 2 of them. Also go get me an edge rusher. What I don't want to see is like the versatility thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners aren't at a versatility point.
Maybe a little bit. I think that the player you're talking about, kind of that bigger defensive tackle, they can do in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah,
they can still go do that. I think the bet with Nolan at 11 would be the upside part of it.
he's got to be a star at one of those positions, though.
He'd play defensive tackle. I think the whole like can kick out to the edge thing is just a like a fun little wrinkle. In the same way you go, yeah, Jonas Valanciunas can shoot some threes. Like I mean, yeah, you don't want him shooting 10 of them a game, but if he's standing in the corner and he gets an open look, like you don't hate that he's taking it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like he can kick out to the edge sometimes. But I think at that point you're banking on upside, which definitely comes with a risk, right?
Yeah.
Like there's if it's a player with 1 year of really good college production, and you're looking at him 6'4", 296, like you said, not really a massive like run stuffing defensive tackle, but you're betting on the explosiveness, the athleticism, and then eventually with NFL coaching, he'll kind of reach that peak where he's a really effective pass rusher in the NFL and can at least hold his own against a run where he doesn't have to be off of the field on rundowns, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And maybe that's what he is early, but I don't hate it as an upside pick as long as they do what you said, and as long as that means, hey, you know what, we're going with another defensive tackle on day 2 or maybe day 3 and a defensive end or 2 in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you were taking a guy with versatility in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's fine with me. But you better not miss with the number 11 pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, just straight up, you got to hit a home run there.
Yeah. The thing with Nolan was there were some questions, I guess, about, and again, this is via Matt Barrows. There were some questions about, I guess he moved high schools a couple of times, then he was at Texas A&M for 2 years and then transferred to Ole Miss. It's like, hey man, why are you always changing schools? Like, what's the deal there? They had him in for a visit, a 30 visit at their facility. So I think if they're taking him, they're confident in the character and the upside of his development. But you're right, man. The bottom line is you can't miss. And if you're betting on this player, then he needs to make an immediate impact as a pass rusher, and he has to be able by sometime early in the year be able to be on the field for 3 downs.
Yep.
That's the very bottom line. And I don't mind the versatility part of it, because if he's not an edge, he's 6'4", 296, he's got 32.5-inch arms. The arm length is a little bit of a problem, but he's not going to be an edge. You're not going to line him up and be like, hey, you're going to rush the passer out there. But like I said, if there's a 3rd and long and they have maybe another defensive tackle, maybe it's Kevin Givens and somebody else who can rush from the inside, maybe they pop him to the outside and have another edge rusher standing over him or something, like something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like there's just these little things you can do where he's playing different roles. I don't hate that necessarily, but I do think of the Banks, Nolan, Williams trio. I think he might be the highest upside, where, man, you might have like an all-pro defensive tackle.
Okay.
But I also think he has the lowest floor, where you have Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah.
And he's getting pushed around in the run game, and he's not an effective pass rusher, and he's just kind of on the field for 25 snaps. And you're not really sure what he's doing in any of those 25 snaps. I think there's a very low floor there in a way there's not necessarily for Banks or for Michael Williams.
Yeah, I mean, like Banks, worst case scenario, you got to put him at left guard or something.
Yeah, I think he's a starter somewhere.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. And probably a very good starter at somewhere.
Yeah.
Like whether you can get him to play right tackle now and eventually move to left tackle or play left guard and then move over to the left tackle. I mean, I just think that there's a way in which he makes a lot of sense as a guy who, it's talked about this before. It's like, when you're drafting NBA players and if you have, 3 players on the board, one is a starting level point guard, one's a starting level power forward, another one's like a combo guy. I'm taking one of the 2 guys that I know have natural position.
Sure.
Unless my team is so good that I can take the combo guy because I need to go find another Malik Monk type deal.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
I just don't think the 49ers, with all of the holes that they have to fill in this particular draft, again, unless they're able to move from 11 to 20, pick up a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick or 4th and a 5th, whatever.
Which they may be able to do.
Yeah. Then it would be like, okay, that's fine. At 20, that's fine. At 11, you've got to hit you need a full-fledged day 1 starter.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's get back to the Elk Grove Kia Talk on 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. TC, welcome back to the program. I appreciate you for holding. I appreciate you for calling back. I'm sorry for dumping your call the first time. That's on me, but I want to let you know that if you do the Brock Purdy trade thing again, we're going to have the same result. Okay. Hi, TC. Welcome back to the show. There, I forgot that's on me. Hi, TC. What's up?
Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, nah, just vibing. Hey, look, so as far as Scott Perry, bro, I'm sitting down with Domas, DeMar, and Zach and trying to find a good spot for them. I know how you feel with Domas, Ham, but I'm sitting down with those dudes and I'm making a hard decision. Kyle, as far as the Niners, bro, I really don't nobody really I really don't care about how people feel about what I'm talking about, but.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, TC. Appreciate you. Yeah,
Right.
I think I on the Scott Perry front, I'm gonna leave the Niner stuff alone. That was weird. On the Scott Perry front, I think that if you're talking like very, very basic steps, I do think that there has to be, with whoever you believe the current core is. You figure Domas is there, Keegan Murray is there, Zach LaVine is there, DeMar DeRozan is there. And again, I'm not talking about this as the core moving forward, but these guys that you have to make decisions on. Like Malik Monk is probably in that group where you're sitting down and figuring out, okay, hey, where are you as a person with this team? What is your vision for you as a player? What do you think the team needs? And just start having that conversation and having that dialogue with those guys and trying to figure out, okay, of those kind of, their quote unquote best players, who is there anything salvageable with any of these guys? Because if you sit down and you walk in on day 1, if you're Scott Perry and you go, all right, man, can't wait to build a team around Domas. Yes, let's go. I have a great vision for how we're going to build around Domas. And you sit down with Domas, like TC said, and Domas goes, I got to know more direction. I just like,
Yeah.
Then like, all right, good to know. Same thing with DeMar. Same thing with Keegan Murray, whose extension you got to figure out. And who had that? Somebody had that. Is there James McCauley, who writes for the Kings on SI, dropped that and said, "Yo, they got to figure out Keegan's contract situation."
Well,
is another big one.
I mean, yeah, they have to figure it out, but realistically, they don't. They can punt until next offseason when he's a restricted free agent. Again, he could then play for the qualifying offer and walk away the next summer. But we're talking like 2 more years. Like the ideal situation would be to come up with a contract this summer that makes sense for both sides, not just a blanket max money contract.
Of course.
Now, if his side is adamant that he's a max money player for, rookie scale extension, then okay, we need to have a longer discussion. We need to figure out what that means for the franchise and whether that's something they're willing to do.
Sure.
I'm not sure that that's where the Kings are with him. And again, that's where, Keegan was very clear during his exit interviews. Yeah, I want to be here.
Sure.
Like my agent will have discussions with them, but I do want to be here. This is a city that I want to put back on the map. I want to get back to the playoffs with this team and all that stuff. But that doesn't matter in the end because we're talking about a new GM. We're talking about a new system. We're talking about a new head coach.
So I think that's what you just said stuck out to me the most. And we got to go here in a second, but you said you don't know where the Kings are necessarily with Keegan.
Yeah.
We should not know where they are with anybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, Scott Perry should have the ability to have his own vision.
Yep.
And if his own vision does not have a all, universal like center in the middle, then Sabonis might not be part of this.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're signing the guy up for a long-term deal, probably a 3 or 4 year contract. Like that's Scott Perry should be able to make the decisions as long as he, gets value and everything else. I mean, this is kind of where you're at.
Yeah.
Like you're a team that's on the decline.
Yeah. It is not an easy situation.
Nope.
Very, very difficult conversations to be had, just like our guy TC said on the Oak Grove Kia talk line. All right, we got to step aside. Handoff is next. One of D-Lo or KC will jump in with us, and we'll continue talking about all of this. We'll talk some NBA playoffs, too. I don't think we've talked any playoffs today. We've done that at all. I don't think we've been able to fit the NBA postseason in. We'll do that in the handoff. One of D-Lo or KC is going to join us next here on The Insiders. It's sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320. I don't know. I was going to say The Insiders. Get me out of here. I heard it's tomorrow at 10 a.m. The Scott Perry presser. We'll carry that for you right here on ESPN 1320. Hey. Yeah. When Money did his presser after the De'Aaron trade.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we got to figure this out for tomorrow.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. Bro, TC would whoop my ass. I would not fight TC.
What's up, Dave?
Hey, yo. What's happening, guys?
TC came in hot with a trade Brock Purdy take, and I dumped the call.
Oh, man. Well, that's on par, though.
Well,
Fire Kyle Shanahan, not Mattson.
well, yeah. And he might be on the Fire Kyle Madsen train now, too.
Well,
I'm looking at Discord right now. Hang on. Oh, that's incredible. That's amazing.
There's something on Discord?
Yeah. West Sac A's merch. Did you see that clip of, did we talk about this? Steve Kerr talking to Tim Kawakami after the game? And Tim
was that the...
Yeah, he's like, did you let the team know that they were going to... He's like, you know what? I forgot.
I admire that level of smart-assism.
Yeah.
Yeah, TC's just
even
out on
better
Kyle's.
Knowing it was Tim Kawakami.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, let's actually, I got a thing to do.
Okay.
And then we can jump in for now. We've got a minute still. Hey, Damien's back.
Kyle told me to go to hell.
No, that's not true. First of all, I am trying to help you not get in trouble.
You. Yeah.
I guess Jason Tatum has a wrist injury.
Yeah, he almost died on the basketball floor the other night. Joe told him to get up.
He's day to day.
Sure, he's going to be okay.
Sore after the game.
Very confident.
Are we going to have the Jason Tatum wrist game?
Okay, here we go. I'll start with the thing, and then we'll bring you.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
There's NBA playoff games tonight, FYI. Got that going on. And with the NBA playoffs going on, I've got an underdog lineup using their extender promotion where I have now, because it's game 2, have a 50% profit boost token that I am using on my lineup tonight. Game 3, I'll get 60%. Game 4, I'll get 70%. You can do that too. Signing up with Underdog Daily Fantasy, their pick'em game. Of course, higher or lower, you pick that on at least 2-player stats. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. Here's my lineup tonight. Tyrese Halliburton. We're going lower than 18.5 points for our guy Tyrese Halliburton.
You sure he's not going to read that the players poll?
Well, he might.
And say, "Oh, I'm underrated."
He might.
I'm overrated. All right.
Yeah, got these 19 points for you. Yeah, he might. Memphis OKC. John Morant, I'm going higher than 22.5 points.
Oh, that's easy.
I think that Memphis is going to be better. I think they're going to lose by a lot. I think they're going to be better. I'm going to go John Morant higher than 22.5 points. SGA higher than 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then Zach Edey higher than 8.5 points. Put back opportunities, dunks. I feel good about that with Zach Edey. I hope you play along. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code KyleM. That's KYLEM to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code KyleM, KYLEM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, it's time for the handoff. Damian Barling in the building, everybody.
It's time now for the
we play
handoff.
this?
Taking the handoff from James and Kyle today, here's D'Lo, Damian Barling.
I think Kenny was like, no, I'm not starting it until you play the intro thing.
No, he's a bigger keeper than I am.
That's facts.
I'm just here.
You're just vibing.
Yeah, that's it. So
Right.
just make sure we got the people to throw rose petals at Casey's feet when he gets in.
Oh, they're here.
Get him his
Yeah, no,
okay, good.
they checked in. They're
Odyssey's
good.
Rose petal
Yeah.
throwers. Yeah,
They're on there. They're getting him his coffee and his snacks right now. They're
Yeah.
got to get all that out of the way
Of
first.
course. It's a lot of snacks too.
So many snacks. So we've been talking about the top priority for Scott Perry, Kings New GM.
Yeah.
If you're telling him, if he says, "Hey, Damian, you know what? I'm really struggling with this GM thing." Damian, help.
Yeah. And who doesn't do that?
Yeah,
to be
right.
honest with
Yeah,
you?
you've got just 30 NBA GMs just on the horn at all times.
Right.
What would you say is the number one, like smaller picture priority? Not you got to pick a franchise direction. Like, yeah, no, we know.
Or a coach.
But well, and a coach. Yeah, that was James' answer, which I think is the right answer.
Yeah. So well, I assume we'll take that out of the equation.
Yeah, because that's the correct answer. First,
Yeah.
player
Yeah.
personnel priority.
I mean, the truth be told, first order of business for me was I'd want to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I'd want to talk to, and I would prioritize it by the players that I want here next year. Now, I think after my meetings, I would determine whether I still want that individual here. But I'd have a conversation with DeMar DeRozan. You've been around the league. You're a Hall of Famer. You've put up numbers that were essentially what you've done your entire Hall of Fame career. Why did this season end up the way that it did? I'd ask Domantas Sabonis the same thing. I'd ask Malik Monk the same thing. I'd ask all these guys the same thing. I'd ask all of the guys who didn't want Mike Brown here, why not? What was different under Doug Christie? I'd ask every single one of them, what they think about Keegan Murray. How vital is Keon Ellis to what we do? And then I'd work my way through. I would create my first order of business is I'd create what I consider a priority list in terms of players, and that's the order in which I talk to them. So if it's DeMar, Domas, Zach LaVine, I'm talking to them. I'm trying to get a feel for why things went the way that they did last year. For guys like guys like DeMar, I'd ask them flat out, like, do you want to be here?
Yeah,
like you have been, adamant since signing here. You don't have a ton of time left in this league. You're universally respected across the league. How do you want to approach this season? Do you want me to explore something else? Because in DeMar's case, I think he's probably the easiest to, like, okay, if you don't want to be here, we'll do right by you. Like, we can make this work. It's not going to be difficult.
Yeah.
He's the only person I'm posing that question to. So I don't care who wants clarity. I don't care who's asking. I'm not asking you that question because the fact of the matter is I might not be able to move you.
Right.
I'm not going to sit in here and you tell me you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Because there could come a point where, fam, that's too goddamn bad.
No doubt.
I can't help you. So DeMar is the one guy who gets that, whether it's a level of respect or who gets that out. Do you want to be here next year? Yes? Great. We're going to try to find a way to make this work.
Right.
Now, admittedly, I'm going to do what I can to make this team better. There are going to be people who are going to call and ask about you. I see you as a part of this team moving forward, but I'm taking calls on everything. If there is any trade conversation, you and I will have a discussion. You and your agents will have discussion. But again, DeMar is the only guy that gets that level of respect. Domas doesn't get it. Zach doesn't get it. Malik doesn't get it. No one gets it except for DeMar DeRozan. And that's not just the level of respect. It's the ease in which it takes to move him.
Sure.
Every other player, and Malik wouldn't be difficult. Malik wouldn't be difficult. And I don't think Malik would even say, yeah, I want out of here. Like he made that clear at exit interviews. Yeah. But the other two that people focus on, like, hey, Scott, I don't want to be here. Okay, Domas, I don't know what to tell you. Like, no one's really clamoring to take $130 million back for you right now. Yeah. So I'd find a way to figure it out mentally.
I think
what I would find a way is for you to tell me what you think we could do to make this team better. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think there is a market for Domas. I don't think there's a market at all for Zach LaVine.
That's a lot of money. Like, why are they different to you?
Well, because one of them doesn't have a long history of injury.
Fine.
That's true.
He's a guy who plays, on average, like for the Kings, like 75 games per year. Like, so, like that's
so, but like what
who
level
leads
of
the league in rebounding?
Sure,
and
but what level of team are you talking about? Like, are you talking about the Nets, the Raptors? Because that you could sell me on that. I guess, like, if the Nets went and acquired Domantas Sabonis, I would assume it's because Jordy really likes Domas. And given who Jordy's right-hand man was, I don't think that's the case. So, like, what type of team goes, give me Domas?
I think there are a lot of teams that would take Domas that would jump at the opportunity. Good teams, bad teams. I think there are a lot of teams. Like, I'm not going to, like, I think that the mistakes here that were made are not Domantas Sabonis related.
No, I don't think that's the case either.
I mean, it doesn't take like a brain surgeon to look at the types of players that you should have put next to him and then just look at how they systematically did not ever put that player next to him.
But doesn't that alone limit the teams that he can be traded to? Unless you are talking about a team like Brooklyn, who's still very much building their team.
No, because I think there are so many teams in the league that just have never struggled to build the team that we're talking about. Like every team in the league, you look around, except for the Kings, have a bunch of length and athleticism at the wings.
But I think, I guess, so what my process here was I'm going to go through the playoff teams. Oklahoma City? No. They're not. Okay.
I don't know.
You don't think Oklahoma City would trade for Domas?
No, I don't think so.
I think they're cool with Hartenstein and Chet.
I also think there's a world in which they're like, okay, we might need to diversify and to have a guy like Chet.
Like they're sketchy on Chet?
Next to Sabonis? No.
Oh.
No, I think they would love,
But what are they going to do when Shea comes up and then Chet comes up and you still got, when Chet comes up, you got $50 million on Domas that year.
Well, yeah, but the salary cap is also going to be well over $200 million at that point.
Yeah. Salary cap always goes up. Steph Curry will be making $190 million a year
at some point.
Yeah, well deserved.
It'll be like 47. We'll be like, how is he still in the league? Well, we know why he's still in the league.
Well, at $200 million a year, you'll stick around.
The Rockets.
I actually like the Rockets better for DeMar.
I think that's what. So I texted James about something related to that yesterday. I was like, I need to see how this series goes, but if they lose in like 5 games, I don't think they're gonna, but if they lose in 5 and their offense just looks like this the whole time, I think DeMar, I think they should be calling the Kings, because that is a player that you can get for not a ton of money who can help you immediately. And you know what, to hell with moving the ball. We've got Alperen Şengün who can do that, and we need somebody who's going to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, it was one of the first things we brought up yesterday when talking about the Warriors Rockets. It was, DeMar would probably really help them, the style of player DeMar DeRozan is.
Plus, he wouldn't upset the balance of what they're building or their future.
Domas, I guess, could work there. I just don't think he's tough enough.
I don't.
Not that he's not tough. Like he gets his ass whooped every game. Like we know that. I wonder if he's mentally tough enough.
Where I'm going with this, and we can talk about fit. And yeah, he'd fit here, he'd fit there. I don't think the Rockets would give up anything of value to the Kings to get him.
Well, yeah, but
like
it would
if they
be
can get him for nothing,
it would be
cool.
what do they consider value though? Like where are they at with because I mean it's a terrible. What's one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
They may look at it like this doesn't. Jalen Green, for example, he doesn't fit what we're doing. He can't take us to a certain level. He's a good basketball player. DeMar, James talking about fit. DeMar fits better. So it's not that Jalen is bad. It's not that we have to come off so much. It's that
I was talking about Domas. Sorry.
Fits. Oh, Domas.
Yeah. That's my bad. We had moved on. I didn't.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's a little more difficult because the money lining up. You're going to have to part ways with money, and that becomes difficult. But like Houston is set up.
Maybe we can do this exercise.
They could acquire like Houston could literally acquire anyone in the league they want.
Legitimately anyone.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll pick up that conversation. You guys, what do you got coming up?
We got this. We are committed to getting to the NFL draft at some point. We spent so much time discussing the NBA and the NBA playoffs, but we have plans here in the first hour to talk NBA draft as well. Tristan to Jason Jones at 3:20. So
can't wait.
Good.
D'Lo and KC coming up next at 4:00 after D'Lo and KC. Grizzlies at Thunder, game 2 of that rousing first round series. Can't wait. For James Ham, I'm Kyle Madsen, Joe Brazil at the home office. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're back tomorrow at 10 a.m. on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. Until then, drink water. Be nice, people. Bye.